let me into my zone. Please don't let me into my zone. 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 Please don't let me.
Oh, hello. Welcome back to Krown's Kiddo Cave. Waking up for a little bit of an early morning over here from Hell's Keep Finland. Very dark, very cold once again, but that's just fucking par for the course in this bitch. Anyways, we got a few things to talk about. I want to follow up on the last couple days worth of price action because Bitcoin is establishing that range that we spoke about. So going to be a little bit of hindsight analysis, plus a little bit of forwards analysis, and realistically just getting ready for somewhat of a boring, kind of lackluster, I think, another day or two in price action. And they're preparing for the big bad move, perhaps later this week, and perhaps even maybe earlier next week, which we'll be discussing throughout the actual analysis coming up in just a second here. Other than that, I want to say that thanks for coming out to the Twitch stream yesterday. Lots of fucking fun. Really good conversations as well. In fact, I want to directly kind of reference one of those in a second here when we get on to the open interest topic. But of course, we'll be doing it later today as well, assuming that there's no like catastrophic events that happen in my life, which tend to actually happen quite often, weirdly enough. But the link is in the description below and everyone's free to join. Of course, Bitcoin analysis a little bit in the periphery rather as juxtaposed to gaming analysis, if you want to call it that. But live trading when the time calls, when the opportunity arises. More importantly, of course, the Krown trading application is also live as well, and I should say something a little more directed towards it because I've been getting a lot of questions on this. A lot of people have been unable to create accounts or questionizing where to create accounts, which is not even a word, but you know what I mean, which is what matters more. But if you're looking to create an account on the new application, you actually can't create it on the application itself on app.crowntrading.net. You have to go onto crowntrading.net, and there you can create an account and then log into that account on app.crowntrading.net. And of course, that's all 100% free, so take advantage of it. It's a community gift from us to you, from us to us, because you're a part of this community as well. Anyways, with all that said, let's get in a live stream right now. I'm wishing you the best of the best and the happiest of the happiest. Put a goddamn fucking smile on your face because Bitcoin's been rallying for like the last 2 months. And let's get in a live stream right over here. I'm pressing that button, and there she is. Bitcoin, no Krown trading application on the forefront and right in front of our face. And what I kind of want to open up this with is once again a focus on the open interest. We actually have shaved a little bit off of it since yesterday and the day before that, a little bit more of a shave as well. And currently hanging out still above that critical $1 billion marker, which to me is a critical point where, you know, we're going to see major massive moves in Bitcoin, whether it be to the upside or the downside. Always keep that in the back of your mind because that's going to tie into the greater analysis of macro points to be aware of, which can lead on into those face melting, $1,000 plus moves, which is starting to look like we probably do get relatively soon. But with that said, I want to say that first and foremost, let's define open interest because I've been getting a lot of questions about this, like why is open, what even is open interest and why is it important? Well, open interest refers to the amount of contracts that people are holding open right now, quite literally open interest. A lot of the time with just like trading vernacular, you'll notice that it's like so direct because traders seem to be usually autistic, at least I am, and the best way to define something is like literally just define it. So open interest refers to the amount of positions that people are openly have already, which means that whenever it gets super high, the logic follows that we're likely to get a move because with all those people in position, that provides rocket fuel for liquidations. Right? More people are in position, meaning more people have risk on the table, which means that once price action gets moving, we can also assume that there's going to be more liquidations, which can really propel price action into these more crazier ranges, which can have much more downstream effects, which we'll get into the technical in just a second here. But just a very brief overview on that and why it's relevant, why it's important. And with all that said, let's actually get into the Bitcoin analysis right here with that in the back of my mind once again, which I'm not saying happens today. I do think it happens probably in this next week, maybe a little bit over a week. Anyways, Bitcoin on the daily right here. Closing a little bit of a bearish engulfing dildo yesterday. Not a huge deal to me because more importantly, CMEs are, well, actually CMEs do look a little bit toppy here. Now, I do think that Bitcoin is establishing a range, which is more or less constructive. And I would still follow up with what I've been saying for the last few days, that as long as Bitcoin remains above this critical pivot from a macro perspective at about 9,600-ish region, this blue box territory right here, I have no reason at all whatsoever to be bearish. And from a more preliminary perspective, now going down to lower time frames, This blue box right here, right around about 9,700, that has been our nice little order block, kind of holding up price action for the lower term timeframes, which I believe Bitcoin is going to try to set in a nice little consolidation period within this region. And I actually do think that, if Bitcoin probably tests again to the downside region, it's probably going to test again to the upside region. But overall, I think that the next few days of price action, maybe not few days, but next like day or two of price action is going to be more or less boring. And we probably won't break below this region. We probably won't break above this region, if I had to guess right now. Well, now we'll look at probabilities a little bit later, which should very much kind of, pull that in with mathematics. But let's first line it up with the TA, or I mean, it's all fucking TA is what it is. I mean, it's based off fucking volatility, which is a goddamn technical to begin with. But my point is that as long as Bitcoin's going sideways within this region, that is constructive. And I do believe that we're going to be playing, ping pong ball with support and resistance here for the next couple days, and then probably decisions made around end of week, and then we'll kind of talk about the critical points for that. But as far as the macro goes, I have no reason at all whatsoever to be bearish as long as we're above this guy right here, about 9,600. Could extend that all the way down to 9,550-ish region. If Bitcoin were to destroy that region, I would look for some pretty massive moves to the downside. I would actually be willing to call a perhaps major reversal after that point. And this is only on closures, by the way. And I really want to see like a 12-hour or a daily do something like this, because it really is a big area. But after that, I'd be looking for a move down here to like 9,200 and probably a small bounce there, and then further continuation on the downside. That would be really indicative of a major macro reversal to me. I don't think that that's what's happening. I actually think that Bitcoin is more or less healthy here, but always got to talk about both sides, because the market can do whatever the fuck it wants at the end of the day. And with these sort of like bias inflection points, if you want to refer to it as that, that is a true value in kind of like having technical analysis on your side, just knowing when to kind of change up the overall strategy. But for now, I think still more or less okay. And I just kind of expect Bitcoin to go sideways here. The thing is that as long as Bitcoin goes sideways here without breaking this current blue box that we're currently in at about 9,700, which we've been speaking about for the last few days, we will start to create some hidden bullish divergences between this point and this point. And also, you're going to see all the momentum also start to cool off. In fact, even the 4 hours starting to really cool off here. We have come all the way down in 4 hour Stokes, and I do trust my Stokes on the lower time frames to get this ranging price action right. And this is kind of what we expect. So when you see all the momentum also just come back down and cool off as price action is essentially going sideways, it's not really getting damaged all that much. We haven't really confirmed any sort of major reversal on a higher time frame, and to me that is, well, that's just allowing them to reset, which would be more or less on the bullish side. Of course, a little bit, with those critical points in mind, that is my main disposition at essentially as long as like 9,600 doesn't get broken on a higher time frame. But let's go check out the 3 hour. 3 hour is going to be coming all the way down as well. So 3 hour and 4 hour pretty much synonymous with each other. I know that sounds a little bit redundant. People are going to be saying like, Krown, what the fuck, man? Of course they are. They're like 1 hour away from each other. Yes, but it doesn't always line up like that. So when everything's kind of coming in at the same level, it does add confidence and confluence to that, or sorry, confluence with confidence, to those points. And hourlies so we see literally all 1 through 4 hour coming down to the same area at the same time. I do think that we're going to see a bounce. We're going to likely see another test down to 97, maybe even get a wick down to like 9650-ish region. But I don't believe that I until we actually had to close outside of this region, I do think that it will buoy off this region once again. I actually did the same thing that I did yesterday. This morning I bought 97, or this wick down to like 9750 yesterday, sold at like 9850. Did the same thing this morning, of course not same prices, but 9730, and then like 9780, 9790, wherever the fuck we got up on that last one. And I'll do the same thing again most likely. And does that mean that it's always going to work out? No, it does not. But that's what trading is, just taking that edge as many times, and then when it tells you that it's going to be wrong, then flip the script, and you can always have a trade on the other side. And in this case right here, with nothing, remember that is all just statistical narrative, essentially. It's not, there are going to be, like, certainly not going to work out one of these times. Of course, that's just the way that it works. But that's why over time I need to be taking things alongside my edge, because I can trust in the statistics that over time it will work in my favor. So with each and every edge offered, I actually have to take those trades in order for my strategy to work long term. And that's a really, really strong concept that I think a lot of people, kind of shy away from, in the sense sense that, if you are going to be using technical analysis as your edge with trading, then whenever you get a signal on whatever edge that you're using, you actually have to use that of course, alongside, risk management and position management, everything else. But just at the most basic level, like, you have to understand that when, if let's say your edge has like a 69% chance to work out, which is a great number and also a pretty damn good edge, if I do say so myself, well, the more times that you take that, the more successful you're going to be over a long-term basis. Anyways, off that topic right now, I'm kind of beating a dead horse to death, which has already redone it. So it's like a double dead horse. Fuck those horses. I hate all horses. No, just kidding. Actually, they taste quite good. I did eat one in Vienna. I think it was kind of strange experience, but fair enough. Anyways, no, they're very majestic. Anyways, where does this even come from? Nobody knows. Anyways, looking at this right on over here, we're not only seeing Stokes kind of come all the way down, but we're also seeing RSI kind of hang back down and reset a little bit as well. And bullish divergences not bullish divergences, but hidden bullish divergences will be forming within this range. Again, as long as Bitcoin simply doesn't break down, sets in something resembling a local low within this region, then yes, we will have hidden bullish divergence confirmed. So it all hinges on the lower time frames on this 9,700 support right here. We can get wicks below. In fact, I think that we're going to get a wick below. I think that we're going to get a washout below and really take out a lot of stops in this region right here. Anywhere around 96.50 should wash out a lot of over leveraged longs, which would be pretty damn nice for this market and pretty damn healthy for it to do, especially at this price point. So with that said, I do want to make sure that my trading over here is all well and good. Let's see. Okay. I think we are ready to rock and roll. Lovely. Absolutely fucking lovely. Okay, cool. Back onto it on this screen right on over here. Anyways, for as far as historical volatility percentile goes, it would suggest that we are in a phase of consolidation once again. Now it is expanding on the 4 hour, but I do believe that this spike is actually curtailing right now because we're going to go down to all the time frames below that. We're going to see that it's already kind of redlining and starting to cool off a little bit. That's your 3 hour, that's your 2 hour. So 2 hour got all the way red, now coming down quite a bit. That's exactly what we expect. So again, I don't think that Bitcoin actually has the momentum or like the volatileness to actually break this area right here, especially given that the lower time frames are kind of cooked a little bit right now. I would look at this first and foremost as a healthy consolidation. Now we are technically downturning on an hourly. We got lower highs and lower lows, to be fair. So, do keep that in mind. But, lining that up with the medium time frames now, going over here to the 12 hour, let's see how this guy's lining up. And yes, fucking perfect. We do see the yellow 21 exponential moving average coming in right around that 96.50-ish region. I think that we're likely to get a wick down there and wash out some of these over leveraged longs and probably close within this blue box territory. We do see that historical volatility percentile on the 12 hour right here, long term, is still consolidating. We can see that it's just been meeting the same trend line going all the way back to where this is coming in all the way back from December, middle of December. Remember, this is quite literally on the low of about of this current cycle, literally down here to the fucking tick, to the T, to the goddamn T at 6,500, and it's by no mistake that we do see another spike up to meet this trend line long term, which suggests that we're still kind of within the bounds of this overall contraction phase, which as Bitcoin is in an uptrend on these time frames, would suggest that this is more or less constructive longer term. But that doesn't mean that Bitcoin can't have some moves downs, some nice move down, but as long as those major areas are not destroyed, no real issues with it long term. Not only that, but 12 hour, sorry, let's look at 12 hour RSI. Do we see anything of note here? We do see a long term trend line forming here as well. Something like this. I'm going to run a regression through it. Doesn't need to be perfect, but just kind of getting a best fits point. We do see that we're going to be coming into a level of support relatively soon, somewhere around the quite literally the middle of the neutral zone, which would suggest that typically you are going to find a little bit of a bounce behavior there, just regardless of where you're kind of approaching it from, because that's the way that a lot of bots and algos are kind of programmed to be taking profits off of, especially seeing as they probably shorted above 10,000 over here at that next major resistance, which we spoke about a week ago. Anyways, like I said, a lot of this analysis for the higher time frames is going to be more hindsight analysis, because it's stuff that we've been talking about for the last 2-3 weeks actually, which for people just joining this channel is going to sound like hindsight analysis, and they're going to say, Krown, you're fucking moronic. Like, what's the value in this? No, it's just to follow up for the people who've been here for a while, so that you can see that over time these things typically do work out. And I'm sure that if you stay on this channel for a little bit longer time, then you'll see the same thing going onwards and forwards. And it's just good to kind of, wrap that up. But I won't spend too much time on the higher time frames today because very little's changed here. And yesterday and the day before, especially in the long-term analysis playlist, there is dedicated videos towards the long-term analysis. For right now, though, there's not really anything new to update on the weekly. There's not really anything new to update even on kind of on a daily, but not on like a 3-day or a 2-day, I believe. Did we close a 3-day yesterday? Or are we closing one today? We are going to be closing one today, actually. So the 3-day is actually looking a little bit toppier, to be fair. 3-day actually is looking a little bit toppy. So could I be the 3-day actually is the one thing that makes me reconsider some of the things that I am saying here. I could very well be wrong on this one. Yeah. 3-day is probably the most bearish thing on the board. So if I did have to construct a bearish case, the 3-day would be what I'm looking at right here. And it would suggest that we actually do probably come back down to like 9,300 to 9,400-ish region. But I want to see the close of the 3-day first. If we close something like this, that will be in the cards because this is kind of a reversal-ish type dildo. The volume is not all that impressive on it, so I don't know how much weight I put on that. But with momentum oscillators kind of turning down from this region right here, you can see that 3-day Stokes are actually pretty much at the highest level. Or sorry, there's a couple times in history that we've actually been higher than this, but not very frequently and certainly not often. More importantly, we do see that 3-day RSI is over the whole more or less constructive. And while we are approaching the bullish control zone once again, which we actually did close above, but it looks like we're going to get kicked out, and very, very likely your first test does get kicked out. I would be looking for it to pop back down and test around the exponential on it, which is probably going to put us around like the edge of like the 60 zone, the 60 marker right here, which I would look for a bounce off of. So does that mean that price action does kind of fall through and come back down and test around like 9,350, 9,400? Perhaps yes. So if today does end something like this, something resembling kind of like a shooting star dildo as it stands, then perhaps, yeah, we are in for a little bit of a pullback. That would be the best thing that I can find on the board for the bears. But remember, with open interest being at the level that it is right now, we can expect probably in this next 7 days of price action from today, a pretty big, massive move. And I'm talking, from this price point, certainly probably like a 5% move, maybe even like a 10% move. And looking at that, lining it up with historical volatility percentile on the higher time frames as well, we are at, pretty historical lows. Now, of course, things have gotten lower before in the history of Bitcoin on the 3-day, but you can see that we're already in an area of major interest. Of course, the only times that we've been lower than where we are right now are precipitating, major massive moves like what we saw in middle of October of 2018, quite literally before 6,000 to 3,000. Before that, we saw it in May of 2018. I think that was one of the runs to 10,000 before going down to 6,000. Before that, it was March 2016. That was a big, massive breakout to the upside. Time before that was October 2015. That was literally the turnaround from this market cycle, like going all the way up from 250 to over 5, like a 2x literally in like 4 days. Pretty damn impressive. Anyways, let me just make sure that's oh, nice. Okay, cool. Good to go over there. Anyways, my point is that we are at an inflection point on the market, and whether the bulls or the bears want to take control of this, the major levels to me are still very much clear and very much clarified. So as long as we're kind of operating, within those bounds, there's not really a huge bias to be had. The bias would more or less be to the upside, just because that's with the trend. But there certainly are a few things staring us in the face that are problematic from the higher time frames. Looking at 2-day right here, do we see anything of note? Is a 2-day closing today is a real question, actually. And yes, it is. We got the 2-day and 3-day closing today. So that actually is of interest. And it is looking more and more likely to me like that we are going to get that wick down into the 9,600 territory. But do we actually break it? I can't really say now, can I? 2-day Stokes coming down here. These have been more or less accurate on the whole when we're talking about long-term price action, but at the same time, I would expect that to get stuck up there at the same, with this current trend that is indicative of strength. What is going on with my phone right now? Jesus Christ, man. Anyways, I want to check back on the daily right here. What do we see? Do we see anything of interest? I still see the same sort of stair-stepping up behavior on daily RSI. Not really getting too much from this. Like I said, higher time frames really unchanged. I'm trying to find some new things with this, but not really getting it. Not really getting it. I do think that we have another wick down, probably below 97, but I'm still hesitant to say that we actually do break that region. I think that it's more likely that Bitcoin bounces off of it and we continue consolidating between 97 and 99. As far as we haven't even talked about the upside here now, have we? Because I don't really think it's coming. Like if the upside does come, it doesn't come today or it doesn't come tomorrow either. Probably comes like later this week or early next week. But realistically, I'm not really I'm not really willing to call like the next move to the upside to like 10,600 until Bitcoin breaks back above about 10.1, 10.2 region and closes above there on a 4-hour dildo. Now, it does look to me like we probably do pop back up and play out a little bit of hidden bullish divergence, but that's probably only good enough to get us to like maybe 98.50, 9900-ish region. So again, what's the most likely thing in my opinion to happen over the next couple of days? Just play out a range here on on a closing basis between 97 and 99, and on a wick basis, we're probably going to get down to like 96.50, maybe 9600 even, and to the upside, maybe like a wick up to like 10,000-ish region. But overall, as long as we don't see any like medium time frames closing above or below those levels within this blue box territory right here, to me this is just a healthy consolidation going sideways, while most people kind of freak out and panic and talk about targets back down at 5,000 and targets up to like 12,000, when realistically the market's just shaking people out and frustrating people in the best way that it knows how to do, which is by going sideways. People want to be the moon boy or doom boy calling the top or the bottom before like the next major fucking $10,000 move. Realistically, that only happens it only happens like once every few years. And more importantly, it's just as this channel is focused on traders, there's plenty of opportunity to be had in even just like $200 range like we're in right now, which I think is more or less fine. Anyways, okay, cool. So I've already spoken about 20 minutes on Bitcoin. Jesus Christ, man, what the fuck? Let's go check out. I'm trying to look for new things today. Like I said, if you want the more long-term analysis, definitely go check out either yesterday's video or the day before that on Sunday in the long-term analysis playlist. There's plenty to be said that certainly does kind of mark off my overall bullish bias. Just looking at Trollender bands right here, I'm not seeing anything of particular interest. Still looks more or less healthy. 12 hours suggests that we probably do test down into the mid to low 9600s. It's completely fine. I don't see any major issues with that. I actually do see a lot of efficacy in the 12-hour Trollender bands here, so that is potentially of interest. But more than anything, it looks to me like it wants to squeeze again. So it's going to go through a phase of consolidation, which is pretty much consistent with everything else that we're saying. Let's go check out expected moves with these ranges in mind. So again, the ranges are in all these blue box territories. Let's see how this matches up with the expected moves chart. And this is on a 12-hour right here. So we do see that the bottom side of the first day deviation is coming in right around that low 9600-ish number. So if we do get a wick down around there, I do think that it will bounce. It very, very likely does bounce off at 96. And I'd still be looking for a closure probably within the bounds of like 9700-ish region. So perhaps a little bit of edge offered up right there. And the top side of the first deviation on the 12-hour coming in right around about 9900. And funnily enough, the 12-hour has actually been a lot more accurate with getting these ranges presumably right. I think it's because at the time that I record these videos, it's usually around 12 hours till the next daily dildo close. And that's a pretty damn good way to standardize price action. But for just for research sake, let's go check out the daily as well. And the daily does suggest a range between about 10,000 and 9,500. So that would speak more to the macro here, and it would say that we have a less than 32% chance to actually break above or below the really, really critical levels. That being once again, well, 10,000 is not really like super critical to the upside. It's really like 10.2, which is less than a 2.5% chance, by the way, to happen today. Like I said, very, very unlikely to happen in today. And to break to the downside on the macro, again, not to be confused with the very preliminary range that we're looking at from like 97 to 99, but below like 95.50 on a higher time frame close, that would be less than a 16% chance to happen today. But that's 1/6, not 6D, but 16. And so very, very, relatively unlikely that we actually do that today. Again, more than anything, I think that Bitcoin goes sideways here. And we probably, and when we flesh out the downside of the range, and then we'll probably set up for another test of the top side of the range coming like Wednesday, Thursday-ish region. I'm curious, just for shits and giggles, what does a 4-hour look like? Yeah, holding the range okay as well. Everything's quite tight here, so we are kind of winding up for a big bad move. But in the meantime, I still think that Bitcoin has another few days of trading sideways, as that's when kind of like calls for moves to fucking 20,000 into 5,000 in like the same breath. It's just insane, man. More often than not, this market's moving sideways, man. It's fucking crab market, baby. Crab market. And I'm fucking head crab, baby. I'm crab people. God damn. I don't really find too much use in the 2-day. It really should be used on the daily and 12-hour in my experience. I think that's kind of the best ones. Anyways, as far as this looks right here, doesn't really add on anything more. It's just saying that it's very unlikely that we actually break below the macro level or above the macro level. And as you can see, it's about 68% chance likely that we just operate within this blue box territory. Again, I think best shown by the 12-hour, which shows about a 68% chance to just oscillate between about 9,900 and while I do think that we'd probably get a wick down into the 96s, I don't think that we're actually going to break it. But that's more my opinion rather than the expected moves chart. The expected moves chart says it's just most likely to kind of play out that range right there, which would essentially get this whole blue box. So maybe my blue box is a little bit too aggressive, but I'll still go level by level until told otherwise. Yeah, I'm sure that there's going to be like some genius out there who's like, Krown's saying that if 9,700 breaks, it's going to go to 9,550. What a fucking moron! Duh! It's gonna go down $1 before the next $1. It's like, no, you don't. You have to understand with the inflection points of these and the relevancy of these regions to the macro areas, and then how the micro relates to the macro, which is all like a fractal relationship to each other, which they all matter to each other. That's why it's important to understand how these things relate to each other, not just because like the people who say something like that, I think are most likely just like Moon or Doom boys and need like $10,000 moves in Bitcoin to make a fucking buck because they're they need like a 2x. They're not trading, they're hodling, and that's a whole nother fucking bucket to get into at some other point in time. Understand that this channel is focused on traders, not long-term hodlers, even though I do talk about the long-term more so for fun. But that's a different game. I mean, shit, it's even a different game from like in long-term investor to hodler, because hodlers say that they just fucking hodl no matter which makes absolutely no sense. I mean, you have to know at some point in date when you're going to get out, and it has to be like well-defined. Otherwise, the market will decide it for you, and the market usually decides it in the form of liquidation, which is not so pleasant, not so fucking pleasant. Anyways, go check out CME, see how they're doing. This is CME 12-hour. CME 12-hour. I'm sure people are calling this a head and shoulders already. Maybe it is. If it is, we will get that move down to like 9,600-ish region. But still, I would be looking for it to bounce it back up. We're still above all major moving averages, even on the 12-hour as it stands, although things are looking a little bit frothy there. I do see that the daily 10 simple is coming in right around 9,700-ish region, so perhaps lining up for another test down there. Actually, daily stocks are going to cross back up to the upside. I don't really trust it all that much. What I trust a lot more is daily RSI, which is still more or less constructive here, filling out this ascending triangle, which to me is just the easiest way to read Bitcoin. How many times have we said that's spot price action compared to CME price action is just, I think that CME chart is just gets things better. It's easier to read, and it's more often than not just more accurate, which as a trader is all I really care about. And we are seeing a change behavior here over the long term. Again, I'm kind of repeating myself from the last few days, but Bitcoin getting kicked out of the bullish control zone ever since when? Ever since fucking June 2019. That was at the top of the $14,000 run right here after being all the way up there throughout this whole period from March to June, going from about 4,000 to 14,000. Really, really impressive. And then ever since then, it's been allergic to this region, selling off it on, anywhere around it on this test right here. This was July highs at 12,000. This was August highs at, I think 11 or 11,500. This was October highs at about 10,500 on that major wick up for the China news, and they haven't banned Bitcoin in a while now, have they? So keep your eyes up for that. And then more importantly, as of recent times, Bitcoin's been the RSI has been very resilient in this region around the bullish control zone, which to me is indicative of a change behavior, and consolidating at a high level alongside this is typically very, very bullish and likely to lead up to a breakout somewhere around here, which would be around the 16th, 17th. So that would be early next week, about a little bit less than 1 week from today. So around maybe Monday, maybe even over the weekend, we probably do see this splurt to the upside here if it is going to play out like that. And how you're going to know that is by any sort of a move back above this right here, which is actually a read of 73 on CME RSI. Any move back above there is going to be interpreted very, very well by the market. I would expect that alongside a breakout above the current high of about 10.2 and initiate a run. Probably, I mean, from CME perspective, probably over, at the very least towards 10,600, but probably even 11,000-ish region. That's what I expect if it does indeed get that. So right now it's still a little bit of waiting time involved. Let's see how the lower time looks on CME. CME lower term time frames, I think, again, a lot more easier to read. Does look to me like we probably do head back down and test around this region, which would be 9,700. There is about a $100 price premium on CMEs versus spot, so that would put spot around the 76 region. But I do think that we bounce off there at the very least on the first pass and probably pop back up to like 97, 98 region, or sorry, not 98 region, and just carry out the horizontal range. Again, looking at expected moves and kind of adding it in with that, it does suggest that we're very unlikely to break to the upside or the downside, even on the more preliminary ranges in this next day's worth of trading. So keep that in the back, or well, you don't have to do anything, but I will certainly be keeping that in the back of my mind. This is, of course, never financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, but I do put quite a bit of weight on that. It does certainly help out. It does certainly help round out my biases, so to speak. So the general message for today is more or less sideways, playing out a range between 97 and 99 on lower time frame closures. Probably gets a wick down into the 96s, maybe even gets a wick up to 10,000. But I'm not really looking for Bitcoin to have like a major face melting move today or tomorrow. Probably either like maybe around Friday or as late as early next week, which is looking a little bit more likely to me. Anyways, let's go check out traditional markets. And what do we see here? Holy fucking moly, new all-time highs, baby. And I'm not trying to sound arrogant or anything again here, but I'm searching for my words so it doesn't sound fucking arrogant, but did what we said in a nice way, I guess. But my point isn't to say like I'm right or anything like that, because I'm naturally going to be wrong. I'm going to be fucking wrong. And I see a lot of people in the comments saying like, hey, Krown, you've been like 90% right, over the last like 2-3 months or something like that. And while it has been a good 2 or 3 months, understand that it by fucking definition, with the edges that I use, I'm certainly going to be wrong. And if you've been in this channel long enough, you've seen me be phenomenally, embarrassingly, and historically wrong on price action. But that's why I use these tools, because I know that over time they're going to work out in my favor. Anyways, SPY doing exactly what we spoke about, coming down to 331, bouncing off it, new highs, extremely fucking bullish. This is a cup and handle completion, it looks like to me, and we're going to be able to make another target based upon this on this breakout, which is going to be pointed towards, if I had to eyeball it, probably like 340 maybe. I don't know. Let's go see what this prints right here. So it's so high we have to pull down the charts. Actually 345, 346 region, so maybe a little bit more of a medium term move initiated towards there. This was a nice little consolidation between 330, 333 and 320, so yeah, that makes about sense. Somewhere a little bit above 340ish regions where I'd be looking towards. Overall, traditional markets very, very strong, and as we've shown in the past, this is good for Bitcoin seems to be heavily correlated with traditional markets on the whole, and you know this to be true because just looking at the macro environment, looking at a fucking line chart, they do match up quite well, with SPY always making new all-time highs, usually about 3 months, sometimes even a year in advance before Bitcoin follows through. But I would say that strong traditional market does bode well for Bitcoin, just because, well, if people don't have fucking money, if people aren't doing financially well, they're probably not going to find time to invest in something like Bitcoin, which at the current moment in time is not used for all that much, unfortunately. Even again, this is coming from someone who believes in Bitcoin long term. To call a spade, it's not all that. It's really not all. It's really not much right now. We're still in experimental phase. I mean, this is a massive experiment. We're making a lot of assumptions with where this thing goes, but longer term, traditional markets being strong, definitely good for Bitcoin, and this is overall very, 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 very nice. Looking at higher time frames, weekly is just continuation. I mean, this is fucking perfect. Looking at weekly RSI, this is more or less healthy. I have no major issues with this. So these trend lines here are referring to the long-term descending broadening wedge, which broke to the upside like a couple months ago, and I do believe that we're going to get more. What the fuck was that noise? Some goddamn ghosts in this bitch. Anyways, I do think that we're going to probably head back up on around here. Descending broadening wedge on this is monthly RSI, by the way, extremely strong. And as price action makes new all-time highs on top of that, after just taking out last month's shooting star dildo, well, that's more or less bullish. Anyways, okay, cool. So let's go check out some Forex shitcoins, and then we'll check out some shitcoins because I'm getting like a million requests per day for these. But dollar yen on a monthly does look like it's going to make a move back up towards like 112 region, and that does help round up my bullish buys here. And I do think that even on the lower time frames, like a daily, we're probably setting up for a move short term back up to like 110 and a quarter, 110 and a half region. But longer term, it does look good to me. It does look fine. Does look constructive. Pound yen, what do we see here? I think still under pressure. Probably going to swipe the downside again at 141 and a quarter. Longer term, let's see on a monthly. Monthly looks pretty atrocious to me, but I'm not sure it's ready to come back down just yet. We do have hidden bearish divergence in place, and I would be looking for a target longer term around 138 region, give or take about half a buck. Gold, what's gold looking like? Long term, I think fine. Short term, did we hit our 380 target? No, motherfucker. Came about $3 shy of 1580. It's close enough. Nah, I thought that we were gonna head up a little bit more there, but probably gonna come back down and test this trend line here, coming at 1555. So, do you think that we've seen the top of that like short term run and still consolidating on these lower time frames? Euro dollar absolutely atrocious, just fucking disgusting, actually hitting even down towards our furthermost target to the downside, 109 even. I do think that is going to have a short-term bounce here and then further continuation to come on into the coming weeks down towards the 108 and a quarter level down here long term. Anyways, go check out some shitcoins because I know that people absolutely love shitcoins, and they're great. They're amazing. They're so cool. They're so beautiful. Wow. Yeah. Really excited about these. All right, so Mr. Beater, all we said was likely to come back down to 210, 212 yesterday. We got down to 216. I do think that there's probably another move lower here alongside Bitcoin, and I'd be looking for a bounce off this region here. Granted, the weekly, looking at it daily does look toppy. Daily does not have bearish divergence actually, but I do think that we probably pop back down to about 210 and bounce a little bit there. If 210 does fail, I'd look for a move down to about 197, 198 region. Mrs. Litecoin, same sort of thing going on here. What was the weekly level that we were looking at? Weekly level I was looking at was about 69 and a quarter. I do still think that it probably pops back down around there, which would be somewhere around the daily 21. And indeed it is. And I do think that it will very, 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 very likely bounce off that. I do think that's no, nothing too interesting on RSI here. Let's see, what else do we have? What about Stellar Rumens, baby. Stellar fucking Rumens. L's are R's. A little bit of bearish divergence going on, so I do think that well, we already kind of hit the 10 simple. I do think that if Bitcoin gets that next move down, you're going to see this thing at 6.5 cents. Monero, what's Monero saying? Monero, same thing, probably coming back down to 79.5. Probably bounce there. Do we have the same sort of bearish divergence? No, we do not. No, we do not. What about Ripple? Ripple me nipples. This one's definitely the next Bitcoin, right? Right? Well, it's probably going to pop back down to like 26 cents, I'd imagine, short term. But I do think that it bounces there. I think weekly is still fine, actually. And I would not be bearish on this as long as it's above 25 and then 3/4. But I do think that it pops back down there to test around that region. But I also think, again, it's very, very likely to bounce there. And then we'll kind of come back and reassess after that. Very, very short-term analysis on this one. And all the other ones, essentially. EOS, wow, what the fuck? Same thing. Wow. Probably comes back down around 460, and then I'll be looking for a bounce. Wow. Altcoins, so invigorating. Yeah, about 460, $4.5, and probably bounces there. Long term, still probably target to reach around 5 3/4 to $6. I think that most things are going to go through short-term pullbacks. Same thing with Neo. Level to watch would be 12 and a quarter. Probably does test down around that range alongside Bitcoin pulling back and then bounces there. Tron Cash, what are we looking at here? A little bit more of a difficult chart to read, to be fair. Golden Cross is along the way, but I would be looking for a test in the 21, somewhere around 2 cents region, and then a bounce there. If the bounce is good, that Golden Cross will very likely play out, and I'd be looking for a longer term move towards 2.9 cents. Almost 3 cents for those who want to round up. Bcash, looking a little bit toppy as well. Bearish divergence initiated and probably popping back down towards the 405, 410 region. Currently trading 443. Actually, that's quite a nice move there. Zcash, what are we checking out here? Some more bearish divergence on a daily. Looks to me like it probably pops back down maybe around 64.5, 64.25 region. What about BNB? BNB, what is it used for? To trade other shitcoins. Genius. Fucking genius. The biggest use case for most cryptocurrencies is to literally trade other cryptocurrencies. You gotta love this space, baby. You gotta fucking love this space. If it pulls back a little bit more, I'd be looking for 22 and a quarter region, and I'd be looking for a bounce there. Daily doesn't look as toppy as some of the other ones, but I do think that it pulls back a little bit here. Probably 22 and 3/4 to like 22 and a quarter region. Then again, we kind of already got this move yet. You know what? I'm the least confident about this one, but on the whole, it looks like most alts want to pull back a little bit to me. It looks like Bitcoin wants to probably get another wick down, maybe around like 9,600, maybe even as low as 9550-ish region. But I do think that it'll bounce off there alongside most of the alts as well. Market typically moves together as always, and this is why typically I don't really look at too many alts. But for shits and giggles, why not every once in a while? And as of the current stature, it does look to me like, again, Bitcoin probably gonna test a little bit of downside here. Probably gonna let's start to wrap this bitch up. We're already 40 minutes in this shit. Probably gonna first try a little bit of a rally here, probably back up to like 50-ish region, play out a little bit more of this range, and then maybe in the next day or two, I'd look for a test down in this region, I'd look for a test up into this region, and then a little bit more sideways, and then coming into like early next week, I'd look for this to, assuming that we actually don't break 9,700 on a medium time frame close, or even a lower time frame close, I'd look for it to float its way back on up into the 5 digits towards 10.1, 10.2, and set up for a potential nice continuation run towards about 10.6 after that, which, you know, more medium term sets up towards 11,000, and then of course longer term we still do have the targets towards 12,000. So I'll kind of end with this. Of course, we've been following this for a while. The weekly on CMEs, once again having a much more clear and clean chart. Like is that like an acne product? I think it is. But an inverted head and shoulders being put in right in over here. Volume signature absolutely beautiful, and we are seeing volume increasing to the upside here on as the right shoulder completes. And this does have a proverbial a proverbial target all the way towards our $12,000 highs, which is synonymous with August 19 highs right around here. So to create a nice little range, which is also synonymous with the only major gap on CMEs present, which is quite literally between 11.5 and 12,000. And if we go over here to spot price action, check out a volume profile strapped on top of this. It's by no mistake that you see volume profile absolutely fall off upside of this level. So that is a major macro changing area. If Bitcoin can get above that area, that $11,500 to $12,000 region, which is going to reject from not once, not twice, not 3 times, but 4 times, maybe even 5 times over here, is that's a time when we can start talking about like 16,000, 20,000 and all that fun stuff. But until then, realistically for like the more long term, I'll just be looking for a range to be established between about like 9 or probably like 10,000 ish region and like 11.5 region. But I do want to put the spotlight on this still being in place, and of course higher time frames is still more or less bullish. And look at this, man. Oh my god, look at fucking this. What we've been talking about for goddamn months on end, baby, months on fucking end. Holy shit, the blue box of peace and prosperity on the weekly RSI once again getting things absolutely fucking perfectly. Holy motherfucking shit. Can it be that easy? No, it's never that easy, of course not, but we're gonna pretend that it's that easy, because you know what, ever since the goddamn genesis of Bitcoin, we've been playing off this blue box since the fucking beginning, baby. Anytime that Bitcoin's above it, generally bullish. Anytime Bitcoin's below it, generally bearish. And for the million goddamn private messages that I've received in the last months about, but Krown, what happened? What are you going to do? Are you just going to blindly buy if the RSI closes above that blue box? No, no. It's a piece of edge. It's a piece of edge in a more serious tone. It's a piece of edge, and not to be mean or anything towards anyone. It's not my intention, but it's just a piece of edge. And what I've been looking for is after we do close above, very, very likely to come back down and test around it, just like you saw on over here, just like you saw on over here, just like we saw right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here, right here. Holy shit! And so, we probably, we probably play out a little bit of downside test around that region, and assuming that it holds up, then I'd be happy to hold longs a little bit more long term, no pun intended. And of course, if it doesn't work out, as there's always a chance that it might not, well, at least I entered as close as I could possible to my edge, so it won't take as much price action to tell me if I'm going to be wrong in that trade, so I risk the least amount of money, and that is what makes a good trade for myself. So with all of that said, I'd like to leave you with that. It's been a beautiful Tuesday morning over here from a very, very gloomy Helsinki, Finland. I'm fucking smiling, baby, because, well, someone's got a goddamn smile on this bitch. No one fucking smiles in Finland. Anyways, I'm signing off with that. Take care, and until next time.